Hang on one second. We are looking at now and hearing the closing bell on this Friday, June 26, 2009. Let's take a look at the action as the market settles. There you see the Russell Investments building. Actually, that's pretty cool. They have broadcast or shown the countdown to the close there on the side of their building. Let's take a look at what the indexes look like. We saw the Dow and the S&P come up to kind of a recovery at the end of the day, but then back down at the bell. The S&P 500 closing down 0.25% at 918 and change. The Dow closing down a little more than 40 points at 84.31. And the Nasdaq ending in the green, up about 0.5% at 1838. Financials, the big leaders today, if you can call them big leaders, at 0.5% of a gain. Healthcare, a distant second. You can see a little change there. Energy and utilities were the biggest drags on the indexes, but also not huge drags. Here you see the energy index down 1%, and the utilities index also down just about 0.5%. Let's go down to the New York Stock Exchange and talk to Lydia Thew at the New York Stock Exchange. I need to use the word lackluster like 3 or 4 times today, Lydia. What do you think?
Lackluster. I hate to be the bearer of such lackluster news, Matt, but you're right. Not only we were lower. It is kind of important, though, that we're lower on the week, lower on the day. Second week of declines, the first time it's happened since March. I mean, this is all very important. Volume, though. Remember, I've been talking all day about this Russell rebalancing. We saw a pickup in volume towards the end of the trading session, but we're about average volume. 1.3 billion shares traded on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange as things sort of settle out here. But the bottom line is, look, we've had low volume for many, many days, for a few weeks here, as this rally off of the March lows has sort of petered out and rolled over just a bit. Also want to point out the VIX Volatility Index hitting its lowest level today since September 12th. That is pre-Lehman bankruptcy levels for the VIX Volatility Index, the so-called fear gauge. Peter Bookbar over at Miller Tabak saying that these summer doldrums have definitely started to kick in here. You're seeing it from a volume standpoint. You're seeing it perhaps in the VIX as well. Now, when it comes to what was strongest today, definitely the financials. The weakness was in the energy stocks. Probably the biggest piece of news that people were trading on today was the savings rate, which rose to the highest we've seen in 15 years. I was talking to Dan Greenhouse, also of Miller Tabak. Talked to a couple of those guys today. He's basically saying that, the real issue here when it comes to the savings rate is it's good for the long term, but not so much for the short term, because obviously the question is profitability. How much money are these? Basically, stocks need to see a pickup in revenue, right? They've been cutting costs, and then the next step is to see a pickup in revenue. So a lot of focus is going to be on basically earnings in coming quarters and seeing how well companies can pick up their revenues. When it comes to movers today, the weakest stock in the S&P 500 was definitely KB Home, dropping the most in the S&P. They had a bigger loss than estimated, and their revenue was down 40%. Also, Boeing was a pretty big mover on the week, down, I believe, 13% this week, shaving 44 points off the Dow Industrial Average this week. The latest news when it comes to their Dreamliner, which is becoming a little bit of a nightmare type story, was that Qantas had to cancel basically half of their plane order from Boeing. So that's just the latest. They did, of course, postpone or delay the rolling out of that plane earlier in the week. So Boeing, a weak stock in the Dow this week, and stocks lower on the week for the second week in a row, Matt.
It's all fun and games until you delay your flagship product for the 5th time in a row after promising the market that it's definitely going to come out on time. Hey, listen.